The agents have the worst day of their careers when Mulder stakes a young boy through the heart. Convinced they're dealing with a clan of vampires,
Mulder tries to get the facts straight with Scully, only to find that she has a different recollection of the facts. Can these two come together and avoid going to prison? Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast. On today's episode, we're reviewing Bad Blood from Season 5, written by our man, Vince Gilligan, and directed by Cliff Bole. And Cliff Bole's only done a couple of episodes, actually, I think. He did Small Potatoes.
4, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Small Potatoes, and then a couple later season episodes. Chimera and Jump the Shark, everyone's favorite.
Well, it is, it's what's written on the label. So I'm going to shock you up front and say that I really like this episode.
God.
I know. Well, it's a well-crafted show. Uses a classic formula of retelling the story from two opposing narrators. And of course, in this case, it's Mulder and Scully, in which they confront a vampire in a small town in Texas. And since Vince Gilligan crafts this story, we know it's going to be great. He's in his stride, gives this really funny, action-packed Monster of the Week episode.
Season 5 X-Files is everyone knows what they're doing, and it is blatantly obvious in this episode that everyone is on their A game.
I will say when it's the right people. Like we have done a couple of episodes so far where it's been a bit of a mess.
Absolutely.
But they're still trying to bring new people in. I imagine, our regular heavy hitters want to take a break every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's wait, hold on. Let me find a good vampire pun here. Let's bite off more than we can chew.
Let's hope this episode doesn't suck.
Oh, yeah, that's good too.
I don't know.
Good. Does it have a reflection? No, this is terrible. Okay. We open in a field with a dramatic foot chase accompanied by some dramatic Mark Snow action music. The young man being chased is screaming for his life. He's going to kill me. Please help me. So on and so forth. Eventually he trips and is confronted by the man chasing him, who falls upon him, and the struggle continues to its ultimate climax, with our pursuer driving a stake into the young man's chest and bludgeons it home with a rock. Scully calls out Mulder's name, catches up to what's happened here, and we see that it is in fact Mulder who's done the staking. They both look on in amazement to what's just happened. Mulder notes the young man's extended incisor teeth, gives him this look like, yeah, see, I did the right thing. But then Scully pokes at them and removes them, revealing them to be prosthetics.
If I were Mulder, my heart would have sunk.
Yeah. Well,
I would have felt the worst ever.
Yeah. Well, they do that great
that
thing
moment
where he goes, "Oh shh," and then the credits go.
Oh my God, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, I love it because it just jumps right into the action and gives you that question mark, that huge question mark of what the hell is going on here, and how are they going to get out of this, right?
In a weird way, it gives away the theme of the episode and the kind of the goofiness of it. It's not 100% serious. It doesn't give you any reason to think it's going to be a humorous episode, but I think until right when Mulder says, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sell point right there. Okay, so this one's not going to be quite as normal as the X-Files usually is.
Well, they don't do that thing that they normally do, which is to, after the credits start with the lead that says 3 weeks earlier and then sort of advances up to this moment where the action happened. We actually start with Mulder at his desk, after this event has happened. And, just the body language, the silent scene, it's so tense. And you just know that,
Yeah. Scully's almost sneaking in, just, don't really know what to think here. Are you going to kill me?
Well, Mulder knows that he's obviously got it wrong, and he's in the penalty box. I love his, throwing the pieces of paper at the garbage can, and they've all missed.
Yeah.
Like, he just can't
How many times has he tried to pen an explanation to Skinner?
Yeah.
He's like, no, that doesn't sound good. Start over.
Well, in an hour, Skinner wants that report, and they got to get their story straight. And as Scully reveals, the family of Ronnie Strickland, a dead young man, intends to sue the FBI to the tune of $446 million. I imagine a lawyer helped them craft that. Probably low in 1995. No, I guess we're way past that now, aren't we?
Maybe.
98. That's still decent, manslaughter money.
I don't care what year it is. That's a lot of money.
So Mulder is insisting that Ronnie Strickland was a vampire, and he's going to stick with that story. But they are going to begin the thrust of this episode, which is to recount the events that led them to this moment. We're going to have this he-she situation where he's going to tell his story and she's going to tell her story. And not only do we get slight differences in the events, the major difference is their perception of each other.
It's
The
fucking
best.
gold.
It is so good. We'll explore it more later, but just to say that it is telling. I think the most
how they see each other becomes obvious.
Yeah, it's so good. A little exaggerated, I would say, but that's what makes this episode so comic. So we cut back in time as they begin to review the case. The first time we're seeing it from Scully's perspective. She is recounting the events. And she relates how Mulder has found a case of mysterious nocturnal exsanguinations, and that several cows have been drained of blood in the small town of Cheney, Texas. Mulder goes through all the evidence and then has effectively buried the lead when he reveals there was also a dead human, a vacationer from New Jersey. That's kind of the definition of burying the lead, is let me show you all these dead cows.
Oh, yes, and a human was a victim as well.
Yeah. Do you think he's doing it to just sort of push Scully's buttons? Like, why are you showing me these dead cows?
Yeah, why is this last?
Well, we cut to the Peaceful Slumbers funeral parlor in order to examine the body of Dwight Funt, our New Jersey vacationer. And Scully's narrating, we're counting the meeting when the Sheriff Lucas Howell comes in, who's played by Luke Wilson, if you hadn't recognized him. I don't think he's got any other X-Files appearances. He's solely for this episode. Yeah. Well, romantic music swells, as Scully is definitely swept away by his rugged good looks. And they look in on Funt. Mulder's being an especially big dick to Scully right now. He's caught up in the thrill of proving her wrong about the existence of the paranormal. But in this retelling, Scully and Hartwell are getting along very, very well, with him agreeing, and everything she's saying is totally pushing the right buttons with him. And by the end, Mulder looks downright uncomfortable.
We're at the beginning of the episode, and both characters are acting in different ways than we're used to. The way they're still meshing, like their chemistry is still so good, and they're playing almost different characters than they normally ever would.
Yeah.
I just think they do such a good job here.
I think it reminds me a lot of Syzygy, where, they're kind of getting to really show their acting chops outside their comfort zone when they're acting as antagonists to each other.
Exactly.
It's really, really good. And there's a really great moment in this scene as the story gets interrupted when Mulder calls Scully on Hartwell knowing her first name. It's like, he didn't call you Dana. What are you talking about?
So good.
Mulder makes a giant observation that the victim's shoelaces are untied, and then decides he needs Sheriff Hartwell to drive him to the town's creepiest cemetery at once, and that Scully needs to stay here and do a full autopsy. The scene with Scully starting on her autopsy, this is possibly my favorite scene in the episode, if not my entire viewing of the show in total. Just how they've locked the camera onto the morgue scale, and she's just parading these organs through onto it, weighing them to kind of healthy. Like, she's
so good.
It's a mix of procedural and boring. Like, this is probably the crux of law enforcement work, the stuff we don't see in between the exciting action sequences, right? So it's not sexy, not at all, especially when she pours on this guy's large intestines onto the scale.
It's even different for her. This is what she does. And every other time we see her giving an autopsy, it's serious, it's thorough. She's maybe not enjoying herself, but at least seems interested in what she's doing.
Yeah. Is this just her being whiny about, being denied access to the hunk that she has just seen? Is that really what we're seeing here?
I think, it's that and disinterest in the case.
Yeah. Yeah, she does not buy what's going on here for sure. Well, the end of it where she is observing the man's last meal, saying, "Oh, pizza, that sounds really good." That's just this idea that she can think about food while she's staring into a man's open stomach. It's just...
it's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
It has to look terrible.
Oh, yeah, but...
Oh, that sounds good right now.
It's such a great moment. And so we're cutting to the Sam Houston Motor Lodge. It's really good.
Don't you mean the Davy Crockett?
She calls it the Davy Crockett Motorport. And they stop during the introduction. Like every scene gets introduced with a little legend to the bottom left if it's a new location. And it starts with Davy Crockett, and then it gets erased and replaced with Sam Houston. It's awesome. So Scully puts 50 cents into the magic fingers machine and makes the bed vibrate. Have you actually used one of these?
I have not. I don't think I've ever been anywhere with something quite so tacky. And that's not like a flex or anything. I just don't think I've ever spent the night in a creepy motel.
How creepy can it be if it's got magic fingers on the
Oh, yeah.
Do you think it would be relaxing though? It certainly, they play it up that it is. Well, she lies down, and apparently she likes the magic fingers. So she's sitting on the bed lying in the bed for a couple of minutes when Mulder arrives shortly thereafter. His clothes are completely muddied over, and he looks like he's had a bit of a day. And without even seeing him, she announces that chloral hydrate was found in abundance in the victim. And Mulder then reveals there's another dead tourist, and she's got to do another autopsy. Just put money in the magic fingers.
It is worth noting that he finds that disturbing, and he says, what kind of vampire would do that? What kind of vampire would drug its victim first? And she's like, exactly. So, and at this point, she feels pretty good.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Mulder says he won't let it go to waste, and he drops down on the bed and proceeds to giggle with delight. Which is great. I don't think I've ever seen him do that. And Scully dejectedly goes back to the morgue, and to add insult to injury, her pizza arrives as she's leaving, delivered by Ronnie Strickland. Dun, dun, dun. This is a great scene. Chloral hydrate. I'm here to pick up my order for chloral hydrate. Okay, let me get you the notices on this one, just so you know what you're getting into.
We give away a free rag.
It comes with a set of complimentary zip ties.
Oh, boy.
So we go back to Scully performing the second autopsy, complete with the locked-in camera on the organs being weighed. I suspect they just did it all at once and had her do multiple takes. Sure. It's so good. And she arrives at the same conclusion. This guy was drugged with chloral hydrate, and she then receives a phone call on her cell, which sounds like some heavy breathing. And exasperated, she hangs up and returns to the autopsy. And again, she searches for stomach contents, revealing the presence of pizza. And there's this moment where she makes some real snap conclusions. Chloral hydrate in the pizza. Pizza delivered by the pizza guy. Pizza just got delivered to her hotel room. Mulder ate the pizza. You can see it.
She put that together real quick.
And it just walks over her eyes. It's so good. And we then cut back to the hotel room. Scully breaks down the door to her own room. Gun is drawn. The pizza slides off the bed, still vibrating from the magic fingers. And Ronnie Strickland, vampire fangs drawn, flees the room with shots fired from Scully. Wonderful action sequences. She rolls over and blasts at him as he runs away. Mulder is unharmed, but drugged and beating out the lyrics to Shaft.
That's so good. Oh, man. Shaft.
And we cut back to the office. Mulder's emphatically denying he did that. He's like, I did not do that. So Scully reveals she was able to shoot out a tire on his car, forcing him to flee. They engage in a foot pursuit, and then she cuts to the chase, as it were. Mulder was able to collect himself, catch up with Ronnie, where he, in Scully's words, overreacted. And thus ends Scully's version of events.
It would be a little bit funnier if she showed up in her scrubs.
Smock, that would be awesome.
Chasing him through the woods.
So we begin Mulder's versions of events. In this version, Mulder is compelling and nice, and Scully is petulant.
He's afraid of her. That's the best part.
Well, he's also he's painting himself as super reasonable. It's like I don't want to, jump to conclusions or anything, but it may be.
He just slides the ticket towards her, like just kind of scared to touch it. All right.
Well, it is a drastically different interpretation of events compared to what Scully has recounted, and that is sort of why it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So he casts himself as a reluctant adherent to the idea that these may be vampire-like attacks, and he's willing to just let the evidence go where it leads.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in with no preconceived notions. And Scully is completely cynical and has no time for any of this. And you get the feeling that she's come from a really much better place and hates to be in this moment. It's delicious. I just love how each character sees each other and that we see the personal viewpoints.
The flipping through the slides and that awkwardness between them when he's like, let me get to the good stuff here.
Now just to wait right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we then cut to the peaceful slumber funeral parlor again. A little different this time. We have Mulder noting the presence of a lot of caskets. The mortician claims that they have the largest in-stock selection in the state.
The funniest part about that is that he corrects her. He's like, apparently you didn't hear me say this. And it has nothing to do with anything. That's a whole lot of caskets.
Well,
I didn't mention that you mentioned that. Thank you.
And the mortician says, oh, repeat business. Sorry, mortician humor. That's so good.
Forbes Angus.
He appears in others,
Yes, he has. I think that's the only one this time.
So this town has 361 residents. And that certainly would be a lot more than they require. So
oh, yeah.
I don't know kind of what point they're making there, because it seems to me that not to jump to the end, but the vampire community that they live in seems to go to great lengths to keep their community secret. So I don't know why we need to have so many. Oh, wait, they need them because they sleep in them. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally forgot that point. All right, moving on. So the arrival of the swimmingly handsome Sheriff Hartwell interrupts this observation. But in Mulder's observation,
Mulder puts a spin on this one.
He's got comically giant buck teeth. Yeah, and Scully calls him on it. It's so good. I also kind of like that it's not a one-off, like the idea of false fake teeth is kind of put into the narrative as well. Like we're going to see it with Ronnie, but it's the fact that they're using it for Luke Wilson is also really good.
And so this gives us just a little bit of insight into Mulder's mentality when it comes to Scully, and that she could be interested in someone else.
Yeah.
He decides to kind of retroactively make this man hideous.
Which is interesting because I don't think Mulder is on a crusade to be romantic with Scully. No. So I think just anything that takes her attention away from the case, maybe he's put off by. They review the body, and Mulder is being very professional with Scully over the moon with Hartwell. I love how she also asked if...
I'm sorry, the beats in this are great, and the cuts to the reactions of the agent that's not talking.
Yeah,
it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of the best actually in terms of the comic timing. It's really impressive. Mulder and Scully trade theories with Hartwell about what is happening here. And Mulder drops a bunch of different histories about vampires, way more than we need, possibly way more than actually happened in the moment. But we see Scully characteristically nonplussed at his brilliant display of vampire knowledge. We then cut to Hartwell taking Mulder to the spooky cemetery. We hadn't seen this before, probably because Scully had no idea what this experience was, so she is learning of it now. Mulder is looking for a vampire activity, and he suggests the cemetery will hold some fascination for the killer, that he will visit this place. And as if on cue, Ronnie Strickland drives by in his AMC Gremlin, the pizza delivery vehicle, and he throws out a greeting to the sheriff, and he drives off. We have a nice little tracking shot of the car as it drives off, a little sinister music cue. The shoelaces are going to get relevant later, and Mulder is really going to string this along. he drops the hint that the shoelaces are important, and Scully's going to ask him like 2 or 3 times, but what about the shoelace? And he's like, I'm getting to it. He knows that this is the story, right? So
this is his one thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That ties everything together.
Like good shoelaces do. They tie it together. Well, speaking of puns, Mulder and Hartwell stake out the cemetery. And this is a great bit where Mulder is littering the ground with sunflower seeds. And he relates a theory to the Sheriff Hartwell that in the literature surrounding vampires, it's thought they are obsessive compulsive. No matter what they're doing, they have to, say, stop and pick up the seeds, clean up the scene. So this lays our little groundwork about the shoelaces, that our vampire likes to see shoelaces actually undone. And we then have Luke Wilson doing an amazing portrayal of an idiot. He's going off on Rain Man. He wants them to take him to Vegas.
I want to take him to Vegas.
I think he's...
Yeah, but that would be illegal.
Yeah. It's really a nice turn for him. He's given some great stuff to work with. And clearly this is Mulder sort of downplaying anything good about Hartwell. And it's at that moment that Mulder and Hartwell are called away by a radio report to the RV park. And they speed away to it. I gotta say, I love this scene. As at the park, the residents are standing and watching something that's moving around, and eventually we get a nice overhead shot seeing that it is an RV driving in circles in reverse. How does this even
happen?
Yeah, how did this even happen, right? But it did. They're all sitting there watching it do these turns in the parking lot. And then we get Mulder saying, and then eventually we got to, we solved the problem and we moved. But Scully wants him to recount the details. Wait, what happened? So they...
Turns out they're harder to stop than you'd think.
Yeah. So they tried to shoot out the tires and missed all their shots. And then we cut to a great moment of Mulder hanging on the back of the RV as it drags him along.
Just all the gunshots, I'm sorry.
It's awesome. They are absolutely awful. And it should be noted that Scully, with one shot, took out one of the wheels of the fleeing Ronnie Strickland's car in the heat of the moment. So she's clearly the better shot of the two of them. Well, we have Mulder hanging on the back of it, dragging him along. Sheriff Hartwell's encouraging him, tumbles off in the road. And eventually the RV runs out of gas and trundles to a stop. So they could have just waited. They open the door, and a third victim, bite marks on his neck, tumbles from the door. And there's this great moment where there's a muted version of the Ride of the Valkyries playing in the background. I don't know quite what that's meant to.
I caught that too, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Why do we even have that? So we cut to Mulder at the hotel room. He's muddied. He's dejected. This is where he's returned to Scully onto the Magic Fingers bed. And Scully subjects him to an epic vent of wrath as he suggests she needs to do another autopsy. And she's not having any of it, but eventually she leaves. It's wonderful to hear it from his perspective. And Ronnie arrives with the pizza. So please note that Ronnie recounts twice that the value of this pizza is $12.98. Mulder gives him $13.
Oh my God. Keep the change.
Yeah,
okay, then.
Keep the change. Yeah. Hey, great, thanks.
2 cents.
Yeah.
Wow.
So good. So he begins to eat the pizza after Ronnie leaves. And when he's a few pieces in, resetting the magic fingers, he sees that the shoelaces on his shoes have been carefully untied. And he has that realization of, vampire's been here. And that's when he starts tripping out. And he follows
because in the X-Files, when you realize something's wrong, it immediately starts happening.
It does. You had your shot. Well, it's happened once so far. Scully has realized it and she's come to the rescue. So it's not always bad. It's bad right now. So he manages to call Scully on his speed dial, but he can only groan and gasp into the phone. And I like in this version, you hear Scully on the other end going, creep.
Creep. He threw that in.
So Ronnie comes in baring his teeth, and his eyes have this weird green glow to them. And Mulder struggles as Ronnie advances. He doesn't tick up his gun. He actually finds a package of sunflower seeds and casts them in Ronnie's direction. Ronnie stops and says, "Whoa,
You are in big trouble.
that's so good." I mean, this is great. Mulder, classic Mulder, being able to be like, "I could shoot him. It's not going to do anything, but this will buy me some time." Well, Scully arrives after Mulder has passed out, and she shoots him. But in Mulder's version, she's hit him twice in the chest, and then Ronnie flies over the bed and escapes like a flying squirrel.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. After Scully left to pursue Ronnie, we see Mulder has recovered and he breaks up a chair to make a stake. He pursues as well, ending with him staking Ronnie. Scully indicates that no one will ever believe this story, and Mulder says, well, they'll have to after they examine Ronnie's body. Foreshadowing anyone?
A little bit.
Well, we cut to the Texas morgue where Brent Butt, the coroner, conducts Ronnie's autopsy. Brent Butt's kind of a star here in Canada. He was in a show called Corner Gas, which ran for a bunch of seasons. He's probably nothing in the States, but hey, he's our guy. Hands off. And he gets one scene. Maybe Mike, you'll tell me that we see him again. I don't think so somehow.
I don't believe he has any other appearance. He does appear in Millennium, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah. Well, not the X-Files.
He got his start as a comedian, so he has a really great one-liner here where the body is covered, Ronnie's body is covered in a shroud. And you see it like sticking up where the stake is. So he pulls off the shroud and he looks at the stake and he says, cause of death. Well, that's a tough one. And he pulls out the stake. It's a nice reveal. And in the background, as the coroner has moved away to prepare his tools, we see Ronnie sit up, alive again. The coroner continues to prepare his tools. Ronnie creeps up on him and attacks him. We fade to black. Probably the commercial at this point.
He checks his teeth with his tongue. He's like, screw it.
I guess it's all right. So we're now in the antechamber of Skinner's office, and we see Mulder and Scully waiting anxiously for their moment to go in and face the music. Nice moment where Scully adjusts Mulder's tie, and he's like, get off of me. And she says, remember, you're on drugs.
You were drugged. Would you stop it?
Which is great, as when he opens the door, Mulder immediately stands up and says, I was on drugs.
They even give Skinner a little bit of humor in this episode.
Yeah.
His neck was kind of gnawed on.
It's straight man humor, though. It is definitely not, he's not setting him up, but he's giving them material. Well, he does reveal that Ronnie Strickland's body has disappeared in Texas and that the coroner was attacked. So what does he say at the end there? Time's wasting? Daylight's burning. Exactly. I don't think that was accidental. So our agents return to Texas, visiting the cemetery, and we enter our third act, where from here on in, time is now proceeding into new territory. Mulder and Scully go back and forth on vampire myths, and Mulder indicates he thinks Scully might be right, that Strickland is obsessed with vampirism, but in this case, he's an actual vampire. So we have then Sheriff Hartwell arriving, who's offering his assistance, and we have a nice little détente between Mulder and Scully because he's going to go and check out something at the RV park. It's where you'd go to get your mail if you didn't have a fixed address. And he leaves Scully with a handsome sheriff. Gives her a nudge, say, don't think I never did anything for you.
For you. She points to the teeth.
Oh, yes. This is, again, the détente in the memory. We have some nice friendship coming. Yeah, we're coming back to some friendship here. So in the car, Sheriff treats Scully to some coffee, and at this point, Hartwell asks Scully what she thinks about vampires. She offers that they're known to be seductive and charming, and that's when Hartwell goes on to apologize to Scully about Ronnie. And we find out that Cheney is a community of vampires, and Hartwell is one of them. And it's the same thing. Scully realizes too late. This is the truth because she's now drugged, turns out from the coffee that Hartwell has given to her. And we end the scene with Hartwell's creepy green eyes turning towards Scully.
One is a little off center. I can't not see it every time I see that scene now.
Is it CGI or is it creepy contacts?
No, I think they're contacts. I could be wrong, but
Probably augmented with CGI. I don't know how you would do that as a practical.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anyway, it's a neat effect. They'll use it more. At the RV park, Mulder's wandering between the vehicles until he finds a broken pizza stand. It's a little plastic doohickey you put in the middle of the pizza so that the middle of the box doesn't flop down on the pizza. It's a pretty cool invention. Probably invented by a Canadian. So he finds it outside what he assumes to be Ronnie's RV. He enters looking around, finding a coffin. I think he's said basically, of course, at this point, right? And inside is Ronnie listening to music on headphones. Ronnie awakes, and we then get a pitched struggle between Ronnie and Mulder as Ronnie's trying to escape the coffin and Mulder is trying to keep it closed, all the while giving Ronnie his Miranda rights.
Come on, cut it out, Ronnie.
Yeah. Mulder glances outside the window and sees the other RV park residents with green eyes approaching the trailer. Manages to secure the coffin with handcuffs. Actually, at this point, we're noting that to shoot inside the trailer, they'd rented a brand new motorhome to shoot in, and they had to cut off the entire sidewall so they could shoot inside, too cramped inside to shoot. But they didn't realize they didn't buy it. They'd rented it. So they're like,
right.
Oh, I guess we're buying it now.
Whoops.
Yeah, he grabs 2 breadsticks from the table, and you're like, are you going to beat him to death with the breadsticks? What's that all about? He goes outside and he uses them as a cross, which has absolutely no effect. Vampires descend on him in a mob, and we cut to black. And we open in the next scene with Mulder in their rental car, his feet sticking out of the window. And Scully arrives, and they clearly have had a rough night. Chloral hydrate's worn off or whatever they did to them. They look like they're worse for wear. But they do check each other over for vampire bites, and there are none. And all the RVs have disappeared from the RV park. And as Mulder puts it, they pulled up stakes. And Mulder bends over to tie up his untied shoelaces. So we have a final denouement back in Skinner's office where Mulder and Scully are finishing their report to Skinner. He's like, so they just disappeared without a trace? And they're pretty cagey as they confirm that, yeah, this is what happened. It's essentially exactly the right facts. And Mulder gets in one last dig of it. Hartwell's buck teeth to Scully. And that's the episode.
Excellent episode.
So good.
I mean, I don't even think we should do final thoughts so much as maybe just talk about it.
How great it was?
Well, just talk about the episode and things we liked or disliked, which there could very well be. I mean, even if you're not a fan of the show, it's just so good. And if you don't know anything about these characters, you can still find it enjoyable and humorous, which is what they were going for.
Absolutely. I wonder if the entire show was like this, would it have been more popular? Because I think some people are turned off by science fiction. Some people are turned off by sort of thriller style shows. And if they would just done sort of a comedy mash with the sci-fi.
Kind of like your Psychs and stuff like that. Yeah. Have you seen that show? I don't know if you have or not. But seen that. Where it's semi-serious, but it's just a big joke.
It's a bit light, right? So they wouldn't be able to deal with as heavy themes. Like they've had some hard episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe I'm fast forwarding it a bit because to do a good mock of a style of show, you need to have the show it's mocking. Mm-hmm. And X-Files really did kind of create its own trend to follow.
Yeah, it was the first.
Yeah. So it would be a real reach to make a show which did this and did it in a funny way.
It's interesting because the X-Files will stop off to make fun of itself pretty regularly. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that a show can do that and keep its core fans, like this is such a departure from normal X-Files.
Yeah.
Even Darren Morgan X-Files, because, his episodes, they're known to be humorous and kind of deconstruct the show themselves. Mm-hmm. But this is like slapstick almost. And it's so good. And us as huge fans or whatever, we're just eating it up because it's done so well. And we love these characters. They have great chemistry. it's crazy to think that a show that is so serious, at least 4 seasons ago, can do something like this and have it be as successful as it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the only thing maybe I would say is the green eyes were a bit weird. Like, I know what they're going for, but as one of them was a little off center. I think it was CGI. I'm going to land on that.
It likely was amplified with CGI, but yeah, I think they were thinking we got to do something to make the audience believe these are vampires. Just something cheap.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't, it's like, okay, were they really vampires, or did Mulder and Scully just?
The other thing I thought about in this is so written by Vince Gilligan and the connection to RVs, because in Breaking Bad, the RV is a pretty central character to the show. Is this his introduction to the RV as a vehicle for storytelling?
I don't know. That's a good question. You'll have to ask him that
when we have him on the show in a couple of weeks.
When we have him on the show.
No, that'd be great. I would definitely bring that up, but he's definitely got some things that he, a little pool of ideas that he will draw from.
Oh yeah.
And that is an interesting one that he's drawn from here. Yeah. And I'm not going to say anything different than you. This was hands down one of my favorites. And I overlooked so many things. Probably that if it was not so good, I would have been like, wait a second. Like, there's actually a goof note in the production says that the large intestine is actually not nearly as much mass as she pours into the weighing scale.
Yeah, I think she mislabels it like small. It's supposed to be small, but she says large or something like that. I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
But another huge comic bit is the second autopsy pours in the intestines and then it all pours out again. It's particularly gross, but awesome. Again,
that's my dad's favorite part.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we need to go on any further. It was great. We loved it. If you need an episode to share with anybody who hasn't seen X-Files, this is definitely the one that will make an instant fan. So with that, I think we will call it the episode. So that is a goodbye from me, Andrew. Do you want to say goodbye to our fine fans?
Good night, everyone.